the work. So after being tired, he requires some wine. And why he'll go? And no spiritual education, no cleanliness. Simply inviting, go to the village. They will go. Lokanath suggested that it was just propaganda on the part of the government, but Prabhupada explained they're thinking that so many men are coming to the cities. How we shall provide them? That's a problem. After all, government has to supply them rations. Where's so much foodstuff? And if they're not supplied, then there will be resentment. That's a fact. What they're doing in the city, so many scooter, gong, 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 going here and there, actually no engagement. The girls are loitering in the street by dressing. It'll become more and more problems, city life. So this is the solution, that they must go back to the village. But they are trained up to enjoy the facilities, so-called facilities of the city. They're not going to the village. But if we can introduce this Hari Sankirtan, and if they have little taste, that is success. It is a great program. And that taste will come, Chaitudarpana Marjanam. If he simply becomes a little sober, that I want to eat, I have to sleep, I want some sense enjoyment and defense, so I can get easily in the village. Why shall I go 300 miles away? Just keep in mind the psychology. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Spielst du Mridanga oder ist zu früh noch für Mridanga? Wie sieht's aus? Wann ist die Trommel, der Trommel? Man kann spielen eigentlich, okay. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vallabha Girivara Dhari Kobirana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Nandana, Bradadana Ranjana, Yasodanandana, Bradadana Ranjana, Yamunati Ravanachari, Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 6th Canto, 13th chapter, Indra afflicted by sinful reactions, texts 12 and 13. Tam dadarshanudhavantim Tam dadarshanudhavantim Chandalim ivarupinim Chandalim ivarupinim Jarayave pamanangim Jarayave pamanangim Yakshmagrastam asrikpatam Yakshmagrastam asrikpatam Vikirya palitan keshangs Vikirya palitan keshangs Tishta tishte tibashinim Tishta tishte tibashinim. Muss noch ein bisschen runter scrollen da. Es sind noch 2 Linien mehr. Einfach, ja, da auf den Knopf nach unten drücken. Jo. Mina Gandhi Asugandena. Mina Gandhi Asugandena. Mina Gandhi Asugandena. Kurvati Margadushanam. Kurvati Margadushanam. Kurvati Margadushanam. Kurvati Margadushanam. Tam dadarshanudavantim Chandalim ivarupinim Jarayave pamanangim Yakshmagrastam asrikpatam Vikirya palitan kesham Minagandhya sugandena Gurvatim margadushanam. Ladies. Tam dadarshanudavantim Chandalim ivarupinim Jarayave pamanangim Yakshmagrastam asrikpatam Virya palitam kesham Tishta tishteti vasinim Minagandhya sugandena Kurvitam margadusanam. Tam, the sinful reactions. Tadarsha, he saw. Anudhavantim, chasing. Chandalim, a woman of the lowest class. Iva, like. Rupinim, taking a form. Jaraya, because of old age. Vepamana angim, whose bodily limbs were trembling. Yakshma grashtam, infected with tuberculosis. Astrikpatam, whose clothes were covered with blood. Vikirya, scattering. Palitan, grade. Keshan, hair. Tishta, wait. Iti, thus. Bashinim, calling. Minagandhi, the smell of fish. Asu, whose breath. Gandhena, by the odor. Kurvatim, bringing about. Margadushanam, the pollution of the whole street. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Do you all understand English?
Yes.
So?
Translation.
Huh?
No translation.
No translation. Indra saw personified sinful reaction chasing him, appearing like a Chandala woman, a woman of the lowest class. She seemed very old, and all the limbs of her body trembled. Because she was afflicted with tuberculosis, her body and garments were covered with blood. Breathing an unbearable fishy odor that polluted the entire street, she called to Indra, Wait! Purport. When a person is afflicted with tuberculosis, he often vomits blood, which makes his garments bloody. Om Agyanatimarandasya Giranjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripadam Aham Vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. With the blessings of Maharaj and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Here we have a continuation of this great story. The Bhagavatam is also called the story of Vritrasura. So many chapters are taking up this narration. We know that Vritrasura was no one else but the great devotee Chitraketu, who had been cursed to appear as a demon. So Indra was in a real predicament. He was in a real difficulty. Why? Because there was this person who appeared to be a great demon, but actually was the greatest of devotees. And Indra killed him. So now he is being chased by sinful reactions. Sinful reactions have appeared in a personification of this Chandala woman, a woman of the lowest class, who is running after him. She's old, her limbs are trembling, and because she's afflicted with tuberculosis, she's covered with blood. She has a breath and an odor that is smelling of rotten fish, and she's calling out to Indra, wait, I got something for you, you know. So that's the situation. Srila Prabhupada's purport, one sentence, that a person who is afflicted by tuberculosis often vomits blood, which makes his garments bloody. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that if a person is malnourished, then tuberculosis is the usual effect. If a person doesn't have proper food, then tuberculosis comes about. And if a person eats too much, then what is the result?
Indigestion.
Yes, and then after that, diabetes, yes, which is a very, very common disease. Yes, obesity, which leads to diabetes, and then all the other effects that will happen. So, all this knowledge is here, and the topic is, how can a personality who is so great like Indra, he's the king of the demigods, he's the ruler of the heavenly planets, how can he become chased by sinful reactions? Now Indra is always wary, he's always afraid that someone will challenge or someone will get him out of his position. So that is the Peter principle, that people who are in power, they will spend the majority of their time and energy for what? They will spend the majority of their time and energy to try to stay in power, not to serve their citizens, not to serve their subordinates, but to reinforce their power position and to get rid of the opposition. And that happens in politics, that happens in companies, that happens in religious societies, that people are trying to reinforce their position, assert their power, and keep everyone else from challenging or from threatening their position of power. So Indra was in a predicament. He knew that this person who was a challenge to his power, to his position, was a great devotee. Yet he had assumed this form of a great demon. And everyone expected Indra to take action. Everyone expected Indra to finish off this terrible demon Vritra, which he eventually did. It took him a long time, as we've heard previously. And now, even though the Brahmins had appeased him, they had assured him that, don't worry, it's okay. We got this covered. We got you figured out. So you kill him, and then you do some yagya, you do some sacrifice, and that will get rid of the sinful activities. Which offense against the chanting of the holy name comes to your mind when you hear this type of scenario? 7, which means Namno Yasya Hipapa Buddhi, which means committing sinful activity on the strength of the holy name. You think that, okay, I'm going to do something which is wrong, or maybe terribly wrong, but I have it figured out. I know how to do something good that will then balance my karmic spreadsheet, my papa and my punya. But that is not recommended. Why is that not recommended? Can anyone help us with what's wrong with that, What's wrong with doing something bad and then trying to make it go away?
We are doing something bad very consciously.
Okay.
When majority of bad things happen unconsciously without us knowing, or something like that.
Then it is minor. If you're not really aware, either out of ignorance or just out of innocence or out of force of circumstance, you make a mistake, then that is negligible. That is easily forgiven. But if a person makes a plan, like in criminal law, it's called with intent, with a very clear plan. If somebody let's say someone comes home and he finds his wife with another man, and he kills the other guy, he kills his wife. Not funny. Very, very serious. Then, usually, he'll get a much lesser sentence than if they can prove that he had a plan, he was after someone, he made the plan, he executed the plan. It was nicht im Affekt, not just in the heat of the moment, but premeditated. He'll get a very severe punishment. So in a similar way, because Indra, because Indra had a plan and he executed it. Now you may say, but he acted under the advice of Brahmins. So why would he get the reaction? I mean, he took their counsel. They gave him good advice. He executed it. Aren't they implicated? Yes, they are, because they gave him that advice. Yeah, because Indra is the one who actually killed Vritrasura. So the majority of the burden is on him. So here, sin personified is chasing Indra, and he will have to suffer. He will have to take shelter in Lake Narendra for 1,000 years. And because he is hiding in a leaf of a lotus, so that no one can find him, he has a hard time even getting any kind of food and any sustenance. Of course, we hear that someone was supposed to bring him his share of sacrifice, yet that personality had difficulty getting there for reasons that we will hear in the coming days. We don't want to spoil and tell the whole story. So today's topic is that when we commit sinful activities, premeditated, knowing fully well that this is wrong, and having the idea that we can somehow patch it up with something good, then the reactions are severe, and it will take a long time to get purified from such a scenario. Now, we know that in this day and age, all these different types of atonements don't really work. Why they don't really work? Because the Brahmins who are supposed to perform those yagyas are not there. We don't have qualified priests who can actually alleviate the person. And also the procedures are not very well known. So we're very fortunate that in this day and age, the yagya is Sankirtan yagya. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. I was in Udupi, and Ayurvedic Dr. Kamat, who is the head of Manipal Medical School, he told me that, in this day and age, Ayurvedic doctors are not very good, he said. And I know because I'm training them. They're not very good. And the medicines are also not very good. And the patients are also not very good because they don't follow what we tell them. So overall, it's a very bad age. But then he said, but there's one good quality. And that is, if you simply chant Hare Krishna, you can achieve the highest perfection. And I asked him, Doctor, are you a Hare Krishna? And he said, of course I'm a Hare Krishna. Because in Udupi, everyone's a devotee of Krishna. They all try to go and have darshan of Krishna at least once a day. And the whole city is centered around the Krishna temple, Krishna Mat. And if you were to go there, you will notice that opposite the deity, just like where Srila Prabhupada would be, in the wall, there would be a little opening about this big. And people who didn't have the time to stand in line for darshan would get off their bicycle, their scooter, their car, take off their shoes, go to that opening and go and say, Hare Krishna, I love you. I'm an idiot. I have to go back to the office. See you tomorrow. So everyone will take darshan at least once a day. That's like a standing rule, just like Srila Prabhupada mentioned in Jaipur, that all the temple is inside the royal palace. And there was a rule that every member of the royal family has to go and take darshan. And those who would not do that, they would be punished by a fine. and the queen was overseeing that. So there was no such a thing as, yeah, I'm living here, living the life, but I'm not going for darshan. Maybe we should institute that in our temples. The question then comes, how will they pay? Okay, we can, find some other ways of atonement. So, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayarya Jantihi Sumerasa, the Sankirtan Yagya is the recommended process. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayarya Jantihi Sumerasa. This is the process that works for this age. And it is so wonderful that even persons who are completely ignorant, who do not know anything about what is proper, what is improper, parittim cha nivrittim cha janano vidurasura na saucham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. People don't know what is to be done, what is not to be done. Sometimes we approach people from Indian background and they're holding a cigarette or a bottle of beer or something, or they say, oh, I ate non-veg, I cannot touch this book. And I say, what is this? What kind of a stupid excuse? Have you ever had that situation? Right? And it always makes us laugh. It always makes us chuckle. It's like a person who says, I'm dirty, I can't take a shower. Yeah, great logic, right? Very, very bright, very brilliant argument, right? And then you just put it in their hand and say, this is for you. Because how will you ever get purified unless you associate with Krishna? Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopiva yaksmarit pundarikaksham sabhabhyayantarakshuchi Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. So without coming in touch of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no real hope for the Kali Yuga denizens, for the inhabitants of Kali Yuga. And we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has brought this Sankirtan movement and spread it all across the globe through his Sangopangastra Parshadam, through his disciples, through his empowered representatives, through his followers. And the Sankirtan movement is alive and well. The only question is, am I going to be part of that Sankirtan movement? Am I moving? Am I moving in the right direction? Or am I moving in a different direction? What are my plans? Are my plans for Harinam Sankirtan? Or are my plans for sense gratification? And every now and then, do a little good to balance out what might have gone wrong. So that is up to us. I was in Bratislava, Slovakia, going to a mall to look for something that we didn't find, but there was a security guard, elderly man dressed all in black, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you a Hindu monk?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Me too." And I said, "Really? How come?" It doesn't look like it, because he was dressed all in black, doing his job as a security guard. He said, "I met a monk. He gave me 5 books." And I asked him, "What is the mantra?" And he said, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare." So he came in touch with the Sankirtan movement and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the Sankirtan devotees, his trajectory changed. He was not anymore just on the karmic spreadsheet of Durga Devi. He was moving in a different sphere, in a different way. I met a devotee in Trinidad who told me that he found the Bhagavad Gita in the trash. He found the Bhagavad Gita in a trash can. And he read it, and he was very much impressed. He was 17 years old. And he joined the ashram, much to the dismay of his parents. And his father wanted to come and capture him and brainwash him and get him back to the old ways. But then his father became a devotee and also moved into the ashram. So the potency of the Sankirtan movement is undisputed. Yet it is a little difficult sometimes to engage consistently in these activities. Why? Because Trigunamai, the modes of material nature, are very attractive. They're doing their thing. Maya's store is always open, 24/7. Have you noticed? And always open for business. So little Jiva is very much enamored by the modes of material nature. So Maya is doing a fabulous job. Yet the devotees are making plans. How can we spread the holy name? How can we spread Srila Prabhupada's teachings far and wide? And that requires a organized, very meticulous plan. Srila Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj that this movement will spread by good intelligence and good organization. So here we are, in the heart of Europe. This is the motor. This is the heart of the beast. Cologne is the center of film and media. So from here, all the propaganda is taking place in the country. So we're in the right place. Yet the question is, how much are we visible? How much do we have impact? How much are we engaging with the leaders, with the opinion makers, with the people who will be influencing society? That is up to us. So we're here to discuss this and to see how we can take part in this wonderful mission. And we should be willing to take any role, any position on the ship. We know Srila Prabhupada, he's the captain of the ship, and he's giving us direction. Yet there are so many positions on the ship. We just took a ferry from Oslo to Copenhagen, a night ferry. And you know, boats, they're huge. There are thousands of people who can fit on it, and there are hundreds of people who work there to ensure that everything is going well. So we need everybody. It's not that, oh yeah, this is the job of a few sannyasis and a few brahmacharis. They will figure it out. They got us covered. No, it is a big job. So let us meditate. What can I do? How can I assist this glorious mission? How can I be part of that Sankirtan movement? The security guard in Bratislava, he thought, I'm also a Hindu monk. You and me, we're doing the same thing. And he understood that we are on the same team. But nowadays, because of all the weapons of mass distraction, because of all the different types of opportunities to get sidetracked, sometimes we wonder, are we on the same team? I used to go to Moscow. I used to go to Russia for 25 years for preaching and training devotees and different aspects, Sankirtan, leadership, etc. But then, at one point, one of the leaders, he told me that you and me, we will never be on the same team. And I realized maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to go somewhere else. So, we should ask ourselves, are we on the same team? On whose team are we? Are we team players? Whose team is it? Have I truly signed up with Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission? Have I truly enlisted in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement? Am I a team player? Do I rejoice in the success of the other members of the team? Or do I try to keep them down? Do I try to keep them away? Just like Indra. He was a great personality, the king of the demigods. But because of his power, because of his position, he committed a lot of mistakes and made a lot of offenses and had to suffer a great deal. So history repeats itself. We should introspect and see, am I encouraging others to come up and to do more service? Or am I trying to keep them away, to keep them down? So these are some reflections on today's verse. We'd like to hear, maybe our esteemed Maharajas have something they'd like to share from their realizations. Any questions, comments, or reflections? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, you said I have a follow-up question on Indra getting the advice from the Brahmins.
Yes.
So if someone very senior gives some advice, and we know that it's very bad advice if you follow that, how should we proceed?
You shouldn't do it. Maybe they have an agenda. Maybe they have a motive. You understand? It's Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. If the three are not aligned, you have to always check back. And before you do something major, always at least consult 5 Brahmins. Of course, you'll get 5 different opinions. That's understood. And often you shop around and you keep on asking people till somebody gives you the right answer. What is the right answer? My answer. I already had my answer. And I just wait till somebody reconfirms my misconception. And then I say, it's bona fide. Huh? You know that scenario, right? So don't do it.
But is it not a part of seeing it is very senior devotee or senior?
It's not a matter of seniority. It's a matter of actually following Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Now, it's not very productive to argue with seniors, so you may just fold your hands and say, thank you very much, and then you go and do what you really have to do, what you're supposed to do. But for that, you have to be trained. For that, you have to know what is what.
But there comes a point that if the same person comes and asks, did you follow what I told you?
Well, it depends who that someone is. Need a little more context here in the story. But if you can see that this action will not be beneficial, that this will be wrong, there is no one and nothing that can force you to do that. Okay? You have to follow your own conscience. But always act under guidance. So take advice from devotees who are not just senior by age, but who are senior by realization, by experience. There's plenty of old fools. Shukadeva Goswami was 16 years old, walked out of the forest naked, sat down, spoke the Bhagavatam. There was his father, there was his Param Guru, there was sages who had been around for eons, yet he was chosen, he was recognized as the speaker of the Bhagavatam. So seniority is on different levels, so you have to be able to make sense of it. And sometimes circumstantially, we have to accept the law of the land. We have to work under management structures. That is fine. But no one can force you to do things that will be harmful, illegal, detrimental. Now, of course, Krishna asked Yudhishthira to speak a lie. You may say, how is that? Because Krishna had a plan. And Yudhishthira was part of that plan. And his plan is supreme. But no one can claim to have that kind of authority, to have that kind of position. But if the temple commander or the temple president tells you, clean the prasadam hall, and you say, well, let me go and ask 5 Brahmins. I'm not so sure if this is really beneficial for my... Then, you have to have some common sense, but there's nothing as uncommon as common sense nowadays. That's why sometimes we struggle with simple things. And because we already have our idea, we already made up our mind, and so now we're just trying to validate our own misconceptions. But that's not permissible. Yes, Maharaj.
Just my Indra was being challenged by Vritrasura to fight. So normally a Kshatriya, they have to fight.
Yeah.
And Vritrasura was saying, hurry up and kill me. So then why would that be a sinful? Because of his mentality, he was hesitating?
Because Indra's main motive is sense gratification. He's not pure. He's not just doing it for fulfilling his dharma to protect the citizens. He's got a lot of abhiman. He's got a lot of enjoyment propensity, and that's why he'll incur. And because Vritrasura, Chitraketu, is a pure devotee, even though he's playing the role of a demon, still he will get reactions for that. Any other reflections on that? What is your...
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because he was telling him, hurry up and,
Yeah.
and kill me.
Yeah.
And Kshatriya, like Yudhishthira, had to gamble because you
Can't.
if they're challenged
Yeah.
fighting, if they don't fight, that's it.
Well, now there's some people who say, euthanasia. There's some people who say my body's not working well, telling the doctor, just kill me. Just give me the pill, give me the injection, and kill me. But in most countries of the world, that's
different. That's not challenge to fight.
Yeah. But as a doctor, you want to help the patient. He's got his desire. You see, he's terminally ill. There's different factors that weigh into the occasion.
Yeah.
So he's bound by duty to fight. At the same time, his opponent is a very exalted personality. So how does he get out of this one? It's tough. And Vritrasura is adamant. He's going for it. He wants to be out of this situation as fast as possible. I don't know what the ideal solution would be. Do you have any suggestion?
It seems like it was the ideal solution. Of course, Indra, like you said, because of all his different desires and so many sinful things he does or thinks about doing, and so accumulating this.
Yeah. So we're fortunate. We're fortunate. Not because we're innocent or because we're ignorant, but we're fortunate because in the Sankirtan Yagya there is no offense. We're very fortunate. And even amongst the devotees, when you're in the trenches and you're serving in the Sankirtan Yagya and someone steps on your toes or somebody, punches you in the head by his elbow because he's hurrying up, and not out of maliciousness, but just out of occupational hazard, so to speak, then we should not take it too badly. Even sometimes it may look like, he did die, it may look like, this person did it on purpose. But Vaishnavas are very kind and forgiving, and they're giving the other person the benefit of the doubt, and we're willing to take a hit or two or three, for knowing that, purification. Tatenu kampam susamikshamana. Let me not get worked up about this one, get angry at the agent of my karma. Because if a person is chanting Hare Krishna and is engaged in the Sankirtan mission, I'm willing to take a little bit of beating. Now that's not an open invitation for abuse or exploitation or insults, but it's just an attitude that will prevent us from getting discouraged or upset, which can easily happen. Because it is a purifying activity. And that purification takes place on all the different levels. So Krishna will challenge us and help us to let go of our attachments and misconceptions. So today is Harinam Sankirtan, 12 noon, Hauptbahnhof, main station. Tell all your friends, come down, sing and dance, distribute books. It'll be great fun.
Yeah.
We can experience it.
Starting there at 12 noon?
Yeah.
Leaving here.
Between 11 and 11:30, depends of our mode of transport. Karantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanandi.